Hello everyone, I am Tacet, and today I'm going to be going over a bunch of troop changes that have just occurred this event this morning. There were about 11 troop buffs and 2 nerfs, so we're going to be going over every single one of those right now. So let's get into it by starting with Dracula's. These aren't actual teams, by the way, just the troops that are changed. 2 changes to him. He now has a 2 higher base damage, as well as a 2 lower mana cost, both of which are a pretty huge change. One thing with this increase in damage is it's now aligned with a Crimson Bat. A Crimson Bat and a Draculus now do just as much true damage to all enemies. As far as the mana cost, now it still has a higher mana cost than Crimson Bat, of course, but it does steal all the life that it actually does. So it will be a lot more viable because it's a lot more spammable, especially since it uses 3 colors instead of the Crimson Bats 2. All the teams you would use them in are pretty much exactly the same though. That hasn't really changed much at all. Next up is Hydra. Has a 3 higher base damage, not too big a deal. Main change on it is it now has a 1 lower mana cost, with 17 before, now 16, so a little bit more viable. Could definitely use it with some HP buffers, and it can get quite a bit of damage out. Next up, Keeper of Souls. Only change with this, has a 1 lower mana cost. One thing to note with this is Bone Dragon was not actually reworked during this balance patch. But it will be once the next update comes out, so do keep that in mind. One reason why I mention this now is because they are likely going to be raising Bone Dragon from 14 mana cost to 15, as well as reworking the ability, and now Keeper Souls was reduced to 15, so later, probably after next update, both Keeper Souls and Bone Dragon will have the same mana cost, whereas Keeper Souls had a much higher one earlier of 2. Now they'll be more on the same playing field, so Keeper of Souls will now be a viable option instead of Bone Dragon into the future. And of course, he has a little bit more board control with his. This is just transformed any gem to skulls, and that can definitely come in handy quite a bit. And now with the 1 lower mana cost, it'll definitely be able to be used a bit more. As far as Moloch, only change here is it now has a 1-to-1 boost ratio on the mana drain instead of a 1-to-2. So however much mana they have is how much damage he's going to be doing, and extra true damage will come in handy against legends and mythics quite a bit. Next up, we have Orion. Main change to this is his bottom value is now slightly raised based on his magic, which is good because he does gain a lot of magic, and it'll make his ability a little bit less random. It was 3 to whatever value would have here before, and now it's actually scaled partially off of his magic, so you won't be able to get like those really low marks. So at least you won't see those random facepalm moments where he just hits like a random 4 or 5 or 3, something like in a single digit when he's in actual legendary. Doesn't seem like it sometimes, but now with that range on it, it should be a little bit more consistent in its damaging since all the lower numbers are now removed. Scion, pretty nice change here. It now does 2 more true damage, has 2 higher base value there, as well as a higher drain value. Used to have a drain of 5, now it has a drain of 7. This comes in handy because before, if you got a single surge on a 3 pair, the enemy could easily recover from a 5 drain, but now with a 7 drain, this is more in line with Mana Core and Spirit Fox. And something really nice about a 7 drain is even if they get that 3 pair on surge, and if they happen to not have a banner set to it, they'll only get 6 mana and not 7, which will disable them a whole additional turn, whereas before it was pretty easy for them to recover from a single turn. Now it'll take 2 turns in most instances, so a pretty huge buff to Scion. Shadow Dragon, I don't even know why they bothered really rebuffing it or really rebalancing it here. He definitely needs a bit more rebalance than what they did, but they changed his boost ratio from a 3-to-1 to a 2-to-1. So not much of a change there. Nothing will really be changing with Shadow Dragon as far as what he's used in. Silent One, pretty nice buff. It now has a 2 lower mana cost. Silent One may finally be viable again. He used to be used quite a bit when the game first came out, back when there was a no immunity to silence and back when he didn't silence himself. But now he has a 2 lower mana cost, used to be 16, now it is 14, so a lot more spammable. I say spammable, he does silence himself, which makes it slightly less spammable, but there's a lot of things that synergize him with can cleanse that silence that he does, so you normally don't have to worry about it. Things like Herdmaster and Mercy are really good synergy for Silent One, because they not only feed him the yellow mana he needs, but it also cleanses him, removing the silence that he has. So we might start finally seeing some silent ones again. The only really drawback from it is if they have any immunity to silence in any way. Silent one is basically useless to even use. And now for the last three. Vinoxia got a pretty large buff. It now deals twice as much true damage on its cast. It used to be 2, now it does 4. Definitely will be a lot more spammable now. It can actually get kills with its true damage, whereas before, or at least in the late game, it was pretty much impossible for it to do so, because poison would barely hit for any, and its true damage would barely hit for any. But now you can actually use it in true damage builds instead of just attack builds, which was pretty much just solely used in prior to this buff. So this might start seeing some more Vinoxia. And now for the 2 nerfs, both of which are refundable. If you just click this button, as well as if you just type in refund over here, you will be able to see both of them, and both of them have the refund option. One thing to note about the refund option, if you've never used it before, it gives literally 100% of the resources back for the troop. So literally everything that you put into it, you will get back, other than the Ascension. It doesn't refund Ascension, like we got this to Mythic. It won't like refund all the copies, but it'll refund all the souls, all the trait stones, and 100% won't take any of them away. So it's actually sometimes pretty good to refund, even if you think you won't really like if it's only like a moderate nerf or anything like that. Mainly because if you don't think you'll be really using anymore, you definitely want to refund, because the main reason for this is you can always put the trait stones back into it, because if you refund it and then decide you don't want to use it, then you'll have the spare trait stones. But even if you refund it and you're like, oh, maybe I still want to use it, you can just put the refund and soul, and you can just put the trait stones and souls back onto it. So whenever there's a refund option, you normally want to take it, because you can always just put the trait stones and souls right back in and then not worry about it. But if you don't do that and then you want to change it later, well, you can't refund it. So it's pretty much a good idea to refund normally. This is mainly in association with Corvash. Maybe you might want to try a behemoth or something like that, or maybe trait your war if you happen to have that or something. So you would have that option. And if you just refund it and then you decide, I guess you kind of want to Corvash again, and then you can just put the trait stones right back on and you'll be exactly where you were. Anyways, with Ranger, pretty small nerf. It now has a 4 times boost ratio instead of a 5 times. That is boosted based on how many enemies are alive. So on average, he's going to be doing just 4 less damage per cast. So not too huge a nerf. Of course, Ranger, if you guys saw the Let's Play series I was doing, was one of the main troops that you would kind of use. It was very, very viable. Still is. That hasn't really changed. But now he's just slightly less potent. Still a really, really good early game choice to be using, even with that slight nerf. But Emperor Corvash got ouch, ouch, ouch. He now has a 15 mana cost instead of a 14. That's actually pretty huge, because 14 was pretty good, because you could set a +1 to his brown and blue and be able to rush him up really quick, especially if you had a high surge chance of 40% or higher. You'd be able to get that up in 2 to 3 turns normally. And the other nerf, which is probably the hugest nerf he got, I will likely be refunding it on my Let's Play account. No point in doing it on my main account. But he now has armored instead of stone skin. This is really huge. It's a whole 25% less reduction. Armored is only 25%. Stone skin, of course, is 50% reduction. So that is some really, really big hit on him. So do keep that in mind. You may want to just go for the refund. Of course, all you have to do is just click the refund button and then go over to actually, let me just do it right now. I can always just put it right back. All you have to do is just click refund. It'll bring up this menu. Due to the recent balance changes, for a limited time, you may elect to recover all souls and trait stones used on this trip. And then you just click refund, and it will just say it's been refunded. It'll say put you in its mail, and you just click troop refund, and then you claim literally everything you put back into it. Gives 100% of the resources back that you put into it. The only thing that can't be refunded is Ascension. Like, we got it up to Mythic, it's not going to unascend it for us. But yeah, that is all of the troop changes that have occurred. Right after this, I will probably be doing a video on a couple teams with it as well. One other thing I want to show before we wrap up this video, though, since it is a Monday and I got a bunch of copies of troops, I finally got Silverglade upgraded. So let's go finally do that. So we can just go and upgrade that to max, get our last little level up on it, and there we go. We now have +1 additional magic on all of our troops to be using now, so that will help us out quite a bit. If we just go over here, you can see we now have it at 5, and it now has that double magic, so we'll be able to utilize that with quite a bit of troops as well. And just as I was saying earlier with the Emperor Corvash, if we just go back to that, where's Leonis Empire? Leonis, there we go. Just go back into this. Of course, we could just put it right back in. If you decide, oh, maybe you still want it or anything, you can just use the resources that you just refunded and put it back in. Of course, pretty much whenever there's a refund, like I said, you'll want to take it because you always have the choice of putting them back in. Whereas if you don't take the refund, you never have the choice of being able to refund. Keep in mind, refunds will last for a week, so this entire week you will be able to refund either of those troops. And you can just reallocate them or just save them for later if you decide, oh, you kind of do still want to use the troop. But anyways, that will wrap it up for this video. If you guys have any other questions about any of the changes or anything like that, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. We will be doing some team videos later today, as well as throughout this entire week. We'll probably be messing around with different various team builds, because that's a lot of changes that came in. It's been a while since they rebalanced this much. Two things that they did mention as well that I forgot to mention. Well, I mentioned the Bone Dragon one, but they also mentioned a Gloomleaf on the forum. I'll probably post in the comment section below the full list of changes if you want to go see them yourself. And everything like that. But they also said that they're going to be changing Gloomleaf. They didn't specifically mention on the forum what really the Gloomleaf or Bone Dragon changes are going to be, but they did mention that they are going to be changed next patch. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching. Hope this was helpful, and have a wonderful day.